Here's a crazy story for you guys. China has detained an estimated 1 to 2 million Uyghur Muslims and are placing them into re-education camps that critics are calling internment camps, or are drawing the comparison and saying that they're very similar to internment camps. Now you might be wondering, who are the critics? Well, only the United Nations and Human Rights Watch. No big deal. Anyway, so the background on these people is that they're ethnically Turkic Muslims, and there's about 11 million of them living in the western region of China. So Turkic is essentially, it's a type of ethnicity. It's like a blanketed term. And a lot of them are in a place that's literally called Turkey. And a lot of them are also in more like Central Asia. So anyway, right now, it looks like the majority of them live in an autonomous, air quote on autonomous, city called Xinjiang, which is heavily surveillanced, and 1 to 2 million Uyghurs live in the internment camp nearby. So what is that, about 11 million minus 2? So that's what, 9 million of them or so? 9 to 10 million living in Xinjiang, which is heavily surveillanced, and then the rest are in that internment camp area. Xinjiang is also pretty big, by the way. It's not just like a tiny autonomous city, kind of like Hong Kong, that's packed full of people. It's very vast. Moving forward, according to Human Rights Watch in the United Nations, China considers religious observance, so in this case, Islam with the Uyghurs, as terrorism, which was followed by mass detentions of people without due process, and they began forcing Uyghurs to take biological tests to collect their data, including their ethnic roots and countries of origin. What? Like, you're collecting people's biological data? How does that work? Why are you using this? Well, I do have an answer, actually. Now, what China is trying to prove is whether or not the people who are Muslim Uyghurs are part of 26 different sensitive countries, if their biological roots are stemmed into those countries. That's what they're trying to figure out. And that's why the 1 to 2 million Uyghurs are currently in internment camps, because they belong to one of the 26 different countries of origin. All right, so now the question that we have is, like, what is considered a sensitive country? Well, I'll name a few, and then let's guess as to what their commonalities are with the Muslim Uyghurs. So Indonesia, Kazakhstan, and Turkey. Would you like to know what they all have in common? They're all Muslim. That is not a good look. That is not a good look, China. Side rant, this is quite literally what Islamist extremists claims the world thinks of Muslims, and then they use this as ammo in order to try and get more people recruited. This is kind of like my actual area of study. I know I kind of like branch off here and there in different videos, but studying extremism is really at the heart of my area of study in my pursuit of an eventual PhD one of these days. Now, while we're on the topic of extremism, so Muslims claim that they are in fact internationally targeted. Well, it looks like in this case, it's actually the case. Granted, the extremists don't mention like all the other groups around the world that are also being targeted because it doesn't fit their narrative, but nonetheless, this is not a good look, China. The question that we now have to ask ourselves is, why does China even care about this population? Well, there's a couple reasons. The overarching reason is because China has something called a China One policy. What that essentially means is that China is trying to take over autonomous cities, or essentially little cities that more or less govern themselves, and try to take them into China itself. However, this isn't one of those situations where it's like, hey guys, we're gonna accept your culture, just come in and join our country, those sorts of deals. This is more like, guys, you literally have to drop your ethnic roots, your cultural background, forget about everything, and literally try to blend into Chinese culture. So let me continue with this. The area where the Muslim Uyghurs live, Xinjiang, so it turns out that the ethnic majority in China, the Huns, are actually moving into this land, and that's causing a lot of the unrest. And so therefore, China is literally forcing the Uyghurs to learn Mandarin, renounce their faith, and swear loyalty to President Xi Jinping, or Xi Jinping. I think that's how you say it. If anybody here knows Mandarin, please let me know. Now, if they don't, what happens is that they're continually placed in internment camps, which, I mean, your guess is literally as good as mine about like what that's even like, because you're not allowed to have international inspectors into these areas within China. So literally your guess is as good as mine. In addition to all of that, they're forced to deal with facial recognition cameras. They're forced to have codes on their doors so authorities even know who's inside. And so they literally can walk up to somebody's door, scan the code, and then figure out which specific people are inside and whether or not that they match the 26 sensitive countries and whether or not they're going to be placed in internment camps. Now, right now, no government has even stepped up to try to challenge China, even the United States. And we literally even have something that's called the Congressional Committee on China. And they have urged President Trump to try to make moves to stop this horrible treatment happening. But so far, nothing has happened. And that's what's very unfortunate about this story. All I have to say is, America, guys, what the hell? Our government is literally saying, oh, we support democracy abroad, we're the world police force, but Yet there's 11 million people who are being targeted because of their cultural background. I thought the point was to have a trade war with China, but we're not helping literally 11 million Muslim Uyghurs, which I might have said it. It's because maybe they're Muslim. Just saying. In China, all I have to say to you is that you are very literally on the wrong side of history. That is all.